So our friends were saying that we were crazy getting on a boat and crossing over large, vast amounts of water. It said how dangerous it was, but I think driving in traffic at rush hour is more dangerous and crazier than being on a boat.
And it's really not rush hour. It's after 10 o'clock.
It's after 10.
People should be at work.
All right, we're still on our varnishing and refinishing task. We're post Milton hurricane. We're at a friend's house. I got some time on my hands and decided to finish up some stuff. But in our main berth, we had this teak plywood was on the wall opposite of the bed, and it had stained, bleached out leaks from the water leaking around the windows. It's discolored from, I don't know if they ever put a finish on it or if they were just using some tung oil or something that they, you know, they did. But I was going to show you how to refinish this, or how I'm going to refinish it. And you can see the different colors on there, and typically you need to sand all of this down. It'll take all that layer of oxidation and discolor and kind of blend it into about the same. I'm using a fairly heavy 120. And if you can see that, that pretty much brings it back to the original. Obviously where it's a different color, we're going to address that if it doesn't sand out. So I never use electrical sanders on these because it's a very thin veneer and you can sand right through it. But I'm gonna hand sand this and see if I can get it all the same color. And you can see it's coming together pretty good. So let me go ahead and sand all this, and we'll step on to the next step here. Well, there it is sanded. That looks pretty good. It does have some bleaching from the leaking around the window. Now we've replaced all of our windows. We don't have a leak anymore. And I think it's time to finish this. One of the things is, once I varnish this wood's gonna darken up and it's still gonna see these light lines in here. And the problem is, once you put the varnish on, you have an issue with, you can't stain that color back in because of the varnish. You know, it's an oil-based type varnish or urethane, and you're not gonna be able to get that back off. So what I do is I wet a rag and I wipe that water on there, and it'll give me a kind of an indication of what it's gonna look like once I varnish it. And you can still see the lines in there. So what we're going to want to do is address those lines with a stain to try to get it as close as we can. And I used water because the water will dry and it just takes a little time, and then I can still apply the oil-based stain to it. But if I put anything with an oil base on it, it will not take a stain. So test it out with the water first and see how it's going to look. I also have a little spot right here. Right there, you can kind of see that. So I'll probably do a little more sanding on this part, but I could sand all the way through this and never get it to the same wood because the wood is actually bleached. And so we're gonna address that with a different way. I got some stain, and I'm gonna use a Q-tip. I'm gonna use a Q-tip and try to stain just the grooves and the lines themselves, and see if I can get that close to that color. And We're gonna wait for this water to dry off of this. We're gonna go ahead and sand down the rest of it. And
I'm using a darker stain on this. Just kind of trying to follow the grain a bit. And it doesn't have to be exact. Blend work. All right, so one of the other things, guys, is this isn't perfect. I'm not doing a piece of showroom furniture in the middle of the thing. I've got a bookshelf going back on here, so a lot of the stuff is going to be covered. And then below, from here down, is my mattress. So I'm more worried about the center of it. It's just an overall appearance, you know. You don't need to pay so much detail on places that are going to be hidden or covered up with other furniture or other molding. You pretty much want to just to get a kind of an average blend in. So I've combined two stains together to get the one I think is closest to what's matching inside of my boat, and it's gunstock and red mahogany, kind of a mix. Now I'm just trying to get this to blend in without it getting too dark. Well, that looks a lot better than it did. And once I get it varnished and put back in, you'll never notice. Right. So I'm putting on a spar urethane. I am brushing with the grain. And that all the way across. I am working this from one side to the other, trying to keep a wet edge and don't go back over where it's already trying to dry. It's just going to create more of a mess. Finish this up now. Well, there it is. Really hard to tell with the sun on it, shadows on it. But that's one coat. We're gonna put 2 or 3 coats of urethane on that and call it a day.
Good work. Great work.
This is cruising on a budget.
Yep. DIY.
Didn't want to have to buy new. All right, guys. Hey, so this cruising on a budget stuff, or trying to save as much money as we can. I wanted to share something with you. I learned this a long time ago from my mom with painting. Since I don't want to clean out my brush all the time, I'm going to show you the finished wall. Get my bookshelf back up, and the places that were discolored, you really can't see that they're there. I think it looks good. But now I'm doing the trim around the windows. I've sanded them down, and I have my paintbrush in a Ziploc bag. This is from 2 days ago, and it's still flexible. I'll let that warm up to room temperature, and I can varnish again, and then I'll put it back in the freezer. It can stay for you know, a week or so in there before it and it won't get hard.